Hello, Brad here, just to say we're super proud that the Friday 5pm podcast is sponsored by the Malt Miller, the UK's best home brew store.
We use the Malt Miller for all of our homebrew experiments, as well as tapping them up for advice and binging on their awesome YouTube channel all the time.
That's why whenever we release a homebrew video, we put a recipe kit live on the Malt Miller, so you can brew with the exact same amazing ingredients that we did. The same ingredients used by pro brewers.
So alongside the Malt Miller's nitro-flushed hops, cold-stored yeast and milled-to-order malts, you can pick up recipe kits for our 5 Points Best Bitter, Russian River West Coast IPA, and now the fastest beer in the world, a hazy session IPA that goes from grain to glass in less than 48 hours.
Sign up to their newsletter at tinyurl.com/Malt Miller to get 5% off your first order. With the Malt Miller's amazing customer service and Johnny's 48-hour recipe, you could order the ingredients on a Monday and be drinking the beer by the weekend.
Speaking of which, it's Friday.
It's 5pm.
So enjoy this week's Friday 5pm podcast. It's Friday, it's 5pm, and I think it's safe to say beer garden season's done. It's over.
Well, I was absolutely boiling. I was in my shorts yesterday, Johnny. Today I've just gone out very briefly in shorts, and it felt Baltic out there. I don't know what's happened. What's happened, Johnny? Why has the sun forsaken us in the course of a day?
I mean, lots of reasons. Weather,
yeah.
ISO bars and.
Didn't you want to be a weatherman? Have we talked about this before?
Yeah,
definitely talked about.
I really hoped that I'd have had a better answer for you there.
Yeah,
given what my original ambition was, but clear. I mean, I never made it as a weatherman. But I guess we've got a little depression coming our way, weather-wise.
Weather-wise, yeah. I was going to make a joke about that, and then I thought, bit dark.
Yeah. And yeah, it's taken away the sun, which I'm not too mad about, given that I'm flying off to South Africa in 2 days.
I reckon it's still pretty sunny there. That's sort of equator zone, isn't it? Well, no, a bit below it probably.
Well, no, yeah, we're well past, past the equator. We're back. I don't know whether we're exactly sort of the opposite, but it's winter there, but winter in South Africa is sort of, well, currently it's 20 degrees and sunny spells. So basically what we had yesterday.
Nice.
So I should be okay. I'm not going to be swimming in the sea much, I don't think, but I will be in shorts and hiking and outside. Well, I've got one little hike booked. I've got one morning off, so I'm going to go to the Cape of Good Hope and tick that little thing off the list.
Nice, pretty good.
But otherwise all conference and filming stuff. Going to lots of breweries. Very excited to see that. Not going to. Do you remember? Is it Cape Brewing Company? I think where we have a very similar logo.
Yeah, we don't know who copied who, or nobody copied anyone seemingly, because we didn't know they existed, and I doubt they know that we exist.
I'd imagine they do now, because they've probably been sent our logo, as we've been sent their logo multiple times, going like, who came first, and we don't know. But yeah, then they're not quite within reach of me. Otherwise, it would have been nice to go and shake the hands and say hi.
You could have done.
Are we cool?
Could have done a T-shirt exchange. That would have been good.
Oh yeah, could have done. But yeah, not visiting Cape Brewing Company, but visiting places. So Soul Barrel, iGear, Afro-Caribbean, and doing a collaboration brew with Woodstock Brewing, and then hosting a dinner at their brewery as well, with a very tasty, beefy, fishy, and chocolate pudding menu. It's going to be a heavy menu.
Blimey. I've got to ask now you've told me that, Johnny. How many books are you taking, or how many bags of books are you taking as luggage?
So I've managed to cram 26 copies into my bag.
That's pretty hefty. Is this the paperback, hopefully?
Yeah, I'm taking a couple of hardbacks as gifts, but yeah, 20 I've got 22 softbacks, paperbacks, because I don't have I don't weigh myself. I don't have what scales in my house, so I don't know what 23 kilograms really is. So I'm a little bit fudging it.
It's like 23 bags of sugar, isn't it? Oh, I get what you're saying. You can't weigh it to find out if you're going to be overweight.
And I don't have 23 bags of sugar to sort of compare it.
No. What you could do is you could do one.
I picked up my wife, and she's not a lot more than double that. So that's how I've estimated it.
Fair enough. Wife scale. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm sure it's how we all work out whether our baggage is within weight.
It's half the weight of my wife.
Pick up our partners.
Yeah. That could be a ball game, couldn't it? Pick up my partner. There you go.
There you go.
Cool.
You're off next week as well, aren't you?
I am.
You've seized the opportunity.
Yeah, I just...
Talking of not the Baltics, quite.
Last weekend, I texted you just saying, is it next week you're going away? And you were like, yeah. So I took the opportunity while you're away for me and KP to go away. So we are, like a couple of old people, we have booked a last-minute cruise from Southampton going to the Norwegian Fjords with P&O on the Iona. If anyone's out there listening and wants to come and drink beer with me on the Iona, I believe the beers are not very good. So I'm looking forward.
No, but the wine's pretty good, because doesn't Ollie Smith do the wine for P&O?
He does do the wine for P&O, you are correct.
Yeah.
And there's like a tasting evening with wine pairing Ollie Smith and Marco Pierre White food. I doubt either of them are there. But
I was going to say, I mean, sometimes he is on the cruises. You often see him on his socials cruising around.
You never know. Maybe we'll get lucky.
You never know.
I like Ollie. Ollie's a lovely man. So don't know about Marco Pierre White. He seems quite stern. But yeah, we're going on that. It was very, very reasonably priced. We got a super last minute deal. I left it all. I rang them up and I had a load of questions for them. Then I left it all day to book it. And by the evening, it said it had sold out. So I had to tell Kirsty that I'd effed up, basically. And then I remembered that the nice lady on the phone had held a booking for me. She'd sent me a special link. So I used that link to make a booking, Johnny. And I felt like I'd got one up on the world.
What drama?
On the world. I was like, oh my God, it's sold out. Oh my God, I've got a link. Oh my God, the link works. And then I was like, do I book it? Do I not book it? I for ages they didn't send a confirmation, so I was really worried that we'd just booked something that we wouldn't have a cabin on. But yeah, we are going. There are 4 cinema screens on there, Johnny. There's a Yaz bar. There's a Costa coffee, which I thought was pretty weird.
You think you've run out? Have you run out of stuff?
What other stuff on the thing? No, there's loads of stuff.
I feel like if you're already talking about how many Costas there are.
Oh no, there's also an infinity, like weird little infinity pool things off the edge where you can like
you're going to be using that on your way up to Norway?
I hope so. They're heated supposedly, so I hope so. Yeah, first port's Stavanger, so I'm hoping to go to Lervig. I know you've been there maybe at least once or twice. Did you go to the festival? They do a festival, don't they?
Yeah, I've been to Lervig a couple of times. Yeah. Not in the last 7 or 8 years, probably.
Yeah. So I've looked. I mean, they've got a taproom, brew pubby kind of restaurant thing that's in town, definitely walkable. And then the brewery, I think, looks maybe a little bit too far because I'm not sure how many. This is the problem with the cruising.
It's out in the sticks, the brewery.
You don't get too many hours.
I'm not certain there's a taproom.
No. So you don't get many hours to wander around. But I'm hoping I can get a beer. Maybe is it Nanny? Is that her name? The lady who's the great designer there.
She no longer works for them.
Oh.
She sort of gave them all of the assets, and now she's doing lots of other projects. I think she might do the odd bespoke thing for them.
Fair enough.
But she's not employed by the brewery anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Well, I was going to say maybe I'll bump into her, but probably not. By the sounds of it.
No. Well, she's UK based as well, I believe.
Oh wow. Okay. Didn't know
and always was. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Teaching me how to suck eggs.
But yeah, there is a taproom in the centre of town, and I remember there was a great burger restaurant as well. But again, 7 or 8 years ago, so couldn't tell you if it's still there. I'll have a look for you. So yeah, we're both away next week, so obviously there's not going to be a podcast, but there will be videos coming for the next couple of weeks. Even though Brad and I might be taking a little break, Keep Cask Alive has.
It's squeezed the juice out of your lemons, mate.
I think that's probably the phrase. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm now, rather than being a fresh cask ale, I'm pretty ascetic right now.
You're a man of pith. You're the lemon is squeezed, and you're just the pithy remains.
A pithy shell.
Still pithy though, Johnny. That's good.
Yeah.
Pith is good.
I'm the isinglass at the bottom of the cask.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So yeah, gonna take a little break. So there might not be a podcast for a bit, but we do have loads and loads of videos, all edited and scheduled and ready to get into your eyes. So don't worry, the videos will keep coming while Brad and I have a little reset. But yeah, the podcast I think is going to take a little break while we have a little break essentially, and one of us will be in the fjords and one of us will be drinking wine in Cape Town.
And some beers,
both
hopefully.
Delicious ways to spend, and well, absolutely some beer. Yeah. Should we dig into the beer news for this week?
Go on then.
Do you want the good news or the bad news?
Hit me with some good news, Johnny.
Good news. Okay, so I found a story. I'm surprised you didn't send me this way. Surprised you didn't send this my way, because I would say you have like four great loves. There's beer, there's design, there's cinema, and then there's cats.
Kirsty, I've got to put Kirsty in there. She's got to be in there. There you go.
Okay,
Shout
right. So
out
there's
Kirsty.
five.
Five.
So I thought you might send me this because the headline is just got you written all over it. It's cat trapped under floorboards.
Oh,
survived by drinking beer for 3 weeks.
No way. Really?
So this is the story of Leia the cat.
Wow.
Who is 11 years old. If you look at the photo, she looks pretty pissed off, and she has every right to be, because she crawled under some floorboards in a house that was being done up, literally moments before they tiled it.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So she was stuck under there for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And they didn't know where their cat had gone. They hired a private cat detective to find the cat. But then they started hearing meows coming from the floor, and eventually they decided, we're going to have to tear this floor up and see if she's under there. And she was.
Bless her.
And when they pulled up the floor, the only thing they could see that she could have been drinking was a half-empty can of beer.
It makes me question, why is there a half-empty can of beer under the floor?
Yeah. I mean, if you're slack enough to let a cat get under, I guess maybe a builder might. Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. They also think maybe she ate rodents. Maybe she could find some rats or something. And maybe lick some pipes for some moisture. But God. I mean, 3 weeks under there.
I tell you what, cats are resilient little sods. They really are. When you think about the amount of feral cats there are that are living and out on the streets and stuff in the midwinter and surviving, without any human help or very little human help. Kind of breaks my heart. I tried to bring in a stray cat last year. My cats hated him, so my neighbours ended up taking him in, little buddy. But he's a lovely cat. He still tries to come in my house. Whenever my patio doors are open, he just lets himself in and just marches over to the food. But yeah, he's great. Cats. I feel like they can live for a long time without anything, like a tortoise. There's that famous, I must have told you that, or you must have seen it, the story of a tortoise that went missing 30 something years prior, and then the people found it alive in their loft. You know about this?
No.
Yeah, it's a real story, supposedly.
I assume it hadn't been drinking beer. Shouldn't be beer in a loft.
I don't think it'd been drinking anything. I think it had gone into sort of status. Like a kind of, it really slowed itself down and was just in like
don't sweat.
Yeah. But for like 30 years, can you just imagine that for a second? Like that is, it's unbelievable. I'm sure it was 30 years. It was a crazy, crazy story. I heard about it last year. Animals are amazing, aren't they? Obviously, you've got tardigrade as well. I don't know if you can call those animals, but
we're just going to start listing amazing animals. It's a good podcast concept, to be fair. Yeah. Just aren't animals.
Tardigrade, they're what we call water bears. They're tiny microscopic organisms. They're incredibly hardy. They can they're like extremophiles. They can live in any sort of atmosphere or no atmosphere. They can float out in space. And I think, I don't know, I can't remember if it was this year, last year, or a few years back, but there was an Israeli space project that I think it was trying to get samples of moon rock or something, and it took up tardigrade and some other stuff, and it crashed onto the lunar surface, so that it just released thousands of tardigrade onto the lunar surface. They were in, deep.
So there's bears on the moon.
There's bears on the moon, mate. Yeah. Water bears.
Wow.
Yeah, so I digress too much, Johnny.
I feel like we need fact checkers on these podcasts sometimes.
They're getting wilder and wilder. I'll just to add, I've also got a migraine right now where I'm seeing zebra patterns in my vision, like I've taken some psychedelic drugs, which I haven't. So my brain is firing in some weird and wonderful ways right now. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure both of those things are legit.
Okay. Well, we'll just assume it, because it's more fun to assume that these ones are.
Yeah.
The bad news now. So one of my favourite ever videos that we've done was our feature on Little Earth Project, which is a wild ale mixed fermentation brewery with a real sense of history and love of sort of historic styles, based near Sudbury in Suffolk.
Yeah.
They have an amazing pub next door called the White Horse, and sadly, Little Earth Project are going to be winding up the project essentially.
Oh, man.
So our video, as with all of these breweries, suddenly becomes sort of a historic monument to these incredible breweries that once, particularly sort of, I'd say like 2014, 2015, 2016 was one of the most exciting breweries in the UK and one of the most talked about. And I think, I haven't chatted to Tom and Danny about it yet, but I would presume, they say it was taking their limited resources away from the pub, which thankfully has been doing extremely well. And I think that, maybe being a mixed fermentation brewery is not the wildlife and the easy sale it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe running a beautiful country pub with a great penchant for doing great sort of festivals and events, and has a campsite and 2 places you can rent a sort of cabin is a more compelling and fun project to have, I guess, and still within sort of the wheelhouse of what they wanted to do. So it was called Little Earth Project because they wanted to produce something that was of that small patch of earth that they kind of inhabited. And I think you can still make your mark with a pub, as we discovered doing Keep Cask Alive. You can absolutely, produce something unique in a pub.
Big time. I just think those guys are fantastic people. I've got a photo I took of Tom where I'm sort of poking through some, I don't remember, wild hop vines or like experimental hop field or something. But it was very organic looking hop field we were on. And
yeah, so that was their own hop yard where they were growing dwarf varieties of several different varieties. I think it was several different British varieties. Really
nice photo. He's propped up against his Land Rover, and it just looks brilliant. It's the most.
It was the thumbnail, I think.
Could have been. Oh, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I just remember thinking what a beautiful place that was, and that the brewery was really fascinating, and the amount of fruit that was in there that day when we were recording was just loads of berries. I remember everywhere, and absolutely like vibrant with life and kind of the countryside. Just a fantastic place. We talked about going back and camping. Did you ever camp there, Johnny?
Yes, I have camped there.
Yeah, there you go.
I was about to say no, and I was like, no, I actually have. I have camped at Little Earth.
I thought you did.
And I'm planning a little bike tour during a bit of time off, and we're debating going to Little Earth. So we can't work out whether to cycle to Thornbridge or cycle to Adnams, because, well, Thornbridge, it means going through the peaks, and I don't know whether my aging body is certainly capable of it. I just think I'd regret it. Whereas a slow descent down to the coast just sounds a little bit more my speed these days.
Yeah, I'd go Adnams all the way, mate.
Yeah,
out of those two, less hills, very, 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 very flat. Yeah, nice.
So yeah, I might visit, might see Tom and Danny and get the lowdown and tell them how much I love their beer. And this weekend, I will be cracking out something from Little Earth. I have a little stash of their beers, a couple of their barley wines called It's Life Gym, that I might treat myself to, pour one out for Little Earth Project. So yeah, sad news, but I think for Tom and Danny, still positive news, because I think it's clearly a decision they haven't had to take. It's a decision they've wanted to take because they want to put more into the pub. And the pub is amazing. You know, just because the brewery's closed, you should all still go and camp or stay in a cabin and visit the pub, because it will still have Little Earth Project beer, because there's still, stock of old stuff. And they do a great job of bringing in lots of exciting local and sort of further afield craft beers as well. And it's a beautiful pub with great pizza and cheese boards. It's a cool place. Yeah, cool. Right, this week's video.
Yeah.
So it's the first of the sort of the full feature-length documentaries on the breweries that we featured within Keep Cask Alive. So on top of the Timmy's one we released this week, there's going to be a Shepherd Neame one, a Kirkstall one, a Harvey's one. I'm hoping I can tease out a full history of ESB as well from our time at Fuller's. So lots more stuff to come, lots more opportunities for people to sign the petition, and lots of great stories to tell. So although it is the stuff that we shot during Keep Cask Alive, there's loads and loads of... This is like the editor's... Wait, what do they call it? Director's cut. So there wasn't much of the Timothy Taylor's now former CEO in the Keep Cask Alive episode, but now we get what I think is an absolutely fascinating insight into how, a brewery that should by all rights be struggling is absolutely flourishing.
Big time.
They are a very profitable, very successful business in an industry where the narrative is you're basically fucked.
Yeah, sadly.
And I think we got a real insight into how they've achieved that. And a lot of that is by, it sounds mad to say, by pricing themselves correctly.
Pricing themselves correctly, holding the line, not bowing to the whims of the market or pressure or people trying to bully them. It's bullying tactics, isn't it? At the end of the day, what Tim was talking about there. Not becoming part of the race to the bottom, all of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting one. And I know, obviously, there'll be some people that were concerned with our work with Timothy Taylor's, because obviously Timothy Taylor's are on the I guess what most people would consider the wrong side of the small brewers relief debate, and the idea of sort of scrapping it or reforming it. And Tim's point as part of that argument was always that the small brewers relief was brilliant for small keg breweries and help them compete against really big guys, but it was an issue in the cask ale market because it meant that small breweries could come in and essentially drag down the overall price of cask. And I never saw loads of evidence of that happening. It did actually seem to be a lot of the bigger guys that were doing the discounting, but it certainly was a factor, and it's certainly why you might see small breweries you've never heard of in pub chains like Spoons. Yeah, that because they're willing to do 50 quid a firkin or whatever it is. And Tim was always very adamant that part of that was down to small brewers relief. And while I probably disagree with him on that, he's clearly seen data that shows that, and he's clearly had the right approach in terms of his pricing.
Well, yeah, it seems to be. I think, Tim is a very very knowledgeable man, a very business-minded man, a very intelligent man. And, having come from a different sector in spirits, can see stuff that maybe people that are in this sector, they kind of... It's harder for them to value themselves in the same way that he seems to objectively be able to see the value in what is produced in cask. That is not... I'm not sort of dissing anyone. I'm just saying sometimes it takes an outsider who's like a bit of a bulldog to go, no, you're not going to push me around. This is how it's going to be. We're not going to lower prices. We're not going to lower standards. this will work. We've just got to sort of hold the line. So I found him quite inspiring, I guess.
Yeah.
And like a very positive, like you could tell that he loved it and also believed in it, which I think, you get CEOs that they'll just come and take the money, right? They'll work anywhere, and they're good at their jobs because they know how to maybe be ruthless or how to be efficient or whatever. But I think he genuinely loves it, right? And I remember him saying, doesn't he take people on tours as well when they turn up? Or have I imagined that?
Yeah, so they don't do brewery tours for the public, but when customers or people like us come, he likes to do the tours.
Yeah.
We didn't do the tour with him because we wanted to go deep into the brewing side.
Yeah.
But generally, he is the person that does the tours, yeah.
So I thought all of that just added up. And he did have an anecdote about his car as well, which I've half forgotten in my migraine state. But do you remember he had a car that he refused to update or something because it costs
the
so
suspension
much?
kept going or something.
Yeah, but it was like it was an old car, but it was a good car, and a new one would have cost a hell of a lot of money. So he was like, I don't want to do that to the business or something, which I thought was admirable.
Possibly.
But it did sound like he needed a new car, or at least some new suspension.
I remember that being my takeaway, being like, but I think you need a new car.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly somebody who, I mean, he most of his experience in spirits was at Diageo, which is another company that understands brand so well. I like Guinness aside, which is obviously one of the most incredible, beautiful, historic brands and one of the most sort of influential brands of all time. You even think about the other spirits that they have, things like Smirnoff, which is not a good vodka, let's be honest. And yet Smirnoff is almost like a cultural institution in the UK. It's like the first vodka you think of, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because of the work that was done in that brand. And I think, he's taken a very similar approach to what he might have done while he was at Smirnoff to Timmy's. And Smirnoff became the vodka and Timmy's has become the cask ale to some extent. And that's, in the comments, there was some consternation, I think, around his sort of statement that he wants to be the Guinness of cask ale. If cask ale is gone, he intends to be the sole survivor. I think some people took issue with that as being like not being pro the wider category.
Yeah.
But I think it absolutely is. I think sometimes a really valid approach to trying to protect something can be to look after your corner of it,
well,
and ensure that you're fine.
Exactly. Like if the plane's going down, you've got to put your face mask on first before you put on the face mask of the people around you so you can help them. So
it's a great metaphor. It's a horrible thing to say to a man who's flying in 2 days, but it's a great metaphor, Bradley.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I forgot about that. But what I mean to say is, you've got to help yourself before you can help others. In a sort of fight to the death scenario. How would you put him in a knife fight against another CEO? How do you reckon
I don't think we should go down that road.
How do you reckon he'd do against Alan Sugar? Maybe a fist fight. He's quite wiry, wasn't he?
He'll have a reach.
He was very tall, and he looked very in shape, I thought. So I reckon he could have Sugar, no doubt.
Okay. There you go, folks. That's the insight you come to the Craft Beer Channel podcast for.
Yeah.
Who could win out of Alan Sugar and various brewery CEOs. So that whole conversation was obviously not in Keep Cask Alive, so that's sort of the additional stuff we'll get. The tour's a little bit longer, and then of course you get me and Brad wishing we were Northerners at the end, which I forgot because it's been so long since we filmed that. We filmed that in July last year. I'd forgotten just how much we fell in love with Yorkshire.
It's pretty great. It's God's country, I think they call it up there, don't they? It's a very beautiful place, to be honest. The dales, the sort of just the undulating scenery is very nice.
Yeah, and the beautiful pub where we went for dinner.
Great.
Was it called the Fleece, the Golden Fleece, or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Not in Keighley, just outside in another town nearby. Just a truly stunning part of the world, and we actually had somebody comment that we should be getting in touch with Visit England because of all the the good work we're doing in promoting the places, and people are actually booking. We've had over the Keep Casca Live series had multiple people messages saying I've booked a trip to the UK off the back of these videos and asking for information.
That was Alexander Jacks. He said, you guys should get sponsorship from Visit England, as you are jointly responsible for my second trip back home this year alone. Couldn't possibly go anywhere else in the world having watched this. Thanks so much. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Alexander Jacks, and welcome back home.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Obviously, another comment I wanted to dig into is, so we talked about the pricing thing. Obviously, that maintaining that price and having a pretty outspoken discussion about that, with somebody like Spoons in a small industry could have gone wrong, but obviously they've had to back that. They've had to back that with incredible quality and consistency of beer, which they've clearly invested incredible amounts in. It is like Fort Knox to get in.
Yeah. Oh, it really is.
Never been anywhere with. Actually, the only place I've been that has had similar health and safety and hygiene standards. The Yeast Bank was pretty up there, but also De Proef, which is the contract brewery in Belgium where a lot of Mikkeller was made, a lot of Beavertown and Camden was made when they needed it, and huge amounts of the Belgian sort of contract breweries are made there. There, they had a very similar approach.
Really? Yeah, makes sense, I guess.
So, we had to, wash hands, wash boots, change clothes, all this kind of stuff. And, that clearly shows up in the final product. The quality of what they produce is, even if you don't particularly like Landlord from a flavour point of view, and there are some weird people out there that don't, you can't argue that the intention of the brewer is met in every single fucking regard, and Andy and his team just do remarkable work. But yeah, so this leads to a comment from Hard Yards Brewers 1225. He said, "It's great to see how a brewery as big as Timothy Taylor's is as much a craft brewery as any. It just shows the care and importance of people in beer." And I agree. The Tim Andy combo. You've got incredible quality of beer and so much business now, so that's the reason it's so successful. And so cool to see the way Landlord is brewed. It's brewed with the thought of the customer's experience in mind. And so good to see Timothy Taylor's wouldn't shuck on quality of ingredients and process just to fit a cost bracket. Which, I think kind of sums up the video really, and the message that came out of it. But I just wanted to make clear, it's not just pricing, it's also you have to back that price with the quality. And I think that's incredibly hard to do, and I'm sure lots of other breweries have tried that. Lots of other breweries have held their pricing and it hasn't panned out for them. So kudos to them. I got lots of comments. There's so many great comments on this. When you've done a good video, not from the views but from the comments that you get, not necessarily praise, but just actual interaction from people. John Brown says, "Forget splitting the G, let's split the T."
Nice.
Bude Wayful. Put a really interesting comment. I mean, it's a bit of a cliche, but I wanted to read it anyway and have a discussion about it, because he says the first part about pricing is what happens when accountants and share price runs the business to the detriment of the product and the consumers. And that's definitely true. The Bass story, which is probably what Bude Wayful is talking about here. That brewery slowly chipped away at the beer until it was almost unrecognizable. But it's important, I think, to point out that a lot of the breweries that were doing these discounts, a lot of the breweries that are in Spoons, are not breweries where there are accountants, not breweries where there's a share price. These are often 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 person teams that are struggling to survive. They're doing everything that they can to pay their wages and pay their suppliers. And so I don't think it's fair necessarily to blame accountants or share prices, or indeed, those people in the small breweries. What we should blame is a market that is so tightly controlled by the big breweries and the big pubcos, so heavily taxed by the government, and so put upon by society, by which I mean sort of people that think alcohol is a scourge on society, that we have to price ourselves down. you know? That the only way we can survive is to discount, and get as much beer out of the door as we possibly can. In a healthy market where there was access to market, a decent profit margin to be had, and the respect from society that it deserves and has earned, we wouldn't have these issues. So yeah, we can blame spoons or the accountants or share prices or, you know, apparently small brewers using their relief to undercut bigger brewers. But the real issue is the structure of the market, not the people in it, I think.
Agreed.
And occasionally accountants. I did, talking of accountants, I put my foot in it big time. The tasting I did in Bedford, that's right, we're bringing up Bedford again.
2 weeks in a row.
Somebody came up to me and said, I got a question for you. And they said, what corporate job did you give up to become a beer writer? Because obviously we all have the same story. We've all given up corporate jobs to do this. And I said, well, you and I used to work for Jamie Oliver. So not, you know, sort of not the cliche, like I wasn't an accountant before. And she was just like, I'm an accountant. And I was like, oh, no.
Oh, dear.
And then she said, and I hate it and I want a job like yours. So
there you go.
I got away with it. But yeah, I need to find a job like accountancy, but it's more niche.
Quantity surveying or something? I don't know.
Quantity. Well, I mean, I used to work for a property magazine, a commercial property magazine. That was my first job out of uni.
Yeah.
So I probably know quite a lot of quantity surveyors thinking about it.
I think you were...
I'll figure it out.
Was it last week you were talking about the Grocer magazine?
Yes.
I think my friend Chris Graham, who I went to school with, used to be the editor of the Grocer. There you go.
Yeah.
And another friend, Simon Maloney, I'm sure he used to work for an industry magazine about manure and fertilizers.
It's perfectly likely.
Yeah, which sounded...
There are some niche trade mags.
Sounded pretty shit, to be honest.
Hey! He's here all week. Well, no, he's not. He's off to the Fjords.
The last time I saw Simon, he was on... I think he lives in America now. He was on... I was on the Underground just minding my own business. And he was like, hey, brothers. And he spotted me and this was like the middle of the day. He had a 6-pack of big boy beers that he was just drinking. Like, I don't even know if he was on his way to work or what he was up to. This is the kind of man I'm talking about here. So
manure writers love to party.
Yeah. Six cans of Holston or something in a little plastic bag.
Not sure how he's going to feel about this coming out.
Well, he lives in Canada or something now. Although his brother's one of my best friends, so it's all love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you find any lovely comments that you wanted to talk about?
Can you
read them through your kaleidoscopic vision?
Do you know what? You've read about 3 of my comments because I was just looking back going, damn. This channel deserves to be UNESCO, not just Cask. Mr. Flying Guy.
That, yeah.
Mr. Flying Guy. Whoa, another great piece of work from you guys. And those comments from Tim Dewey, Ari, Timothy Taylor's quality, concerns at the beginning. Fucking yes. Superb work all round again, gents. What else is he? Section about what was it? Oh yeah, see what I do is I screen grab them all and then I've got them on my phone to flick through, but I think you've literally read out all of the comments that I was going to read, unfortunately.
Well, I humbly apologise. I should. So Phil Clifton 6813 has said, bit perturbed the petition's only at 16,600 signatures. Where are all the camera members and everybody else? And it's a fair question.
It is a fair question.
I think, I was delighted we got to 10,000 as quickly as we did, but I assumed it would tick over a little bit better.
Yeah, it's kind of real slowed down.
Yeah.
We might need to do some stunts, Johnny, when you're off your hiatus.
I've got an email I need to send to you. So the owner of Beerfly in Bedford, he has the Beerfly is a side gig, and he runs a PR firm.
Okay.
So he actually sent me an email with a bunch of stunt ideas.
Okay.
That him and his team have come up with free of charge.
Great.
For us.
Brilliant.
So I do need to forward that to you.
What's his name?
So that you can have a little look. His name's Will.
Shout out Will, thank you. That sounds excellent. Thanks for getting involved.
Much appreciated, Will. And shout out to Beerfly. Obviously, everybody's booked holidays to Bedford already after last week's episode. But if you haven't, go to Beerfly, go to Bedford, go to the Isle of... Oh, God, what was it called? The Isle of Dan? I can't remember.
The Isle
now.
of Dan, yeah.
It was the Isle of Dan. And I promise when the podcast comes back in a couple of weeks, we won't be talking about Bedford. Cool. Well, yeah. So that was this week's episode. It's one of my favourites that we've put together ever. But boy, do we have some episodes coming your way. So I've just finished the Kirkstall episode, and it is.
Oh my God.
It's
a whopper.
If you could win Oscars, well, you can for documentaries, can't you?
Yeah.
Then this wouldn't win one. In fact, it wouldn't get nominated. In fact, it would get laughed out of the room. But I'm proud of it. I think it's good,
mate. It's going to be excellent. I mean, there's so many different locations in that video as well. Different stories along the way. I was blown away by Kirkstall. And I didn't even get to see the venue you went to.
So you didn't go to the brewery.
No,
you were just blown away by the Tetley and Steve.
Yeah. I was just blown away by Steve in general, really. But yeah.
So
amazing.
we've got obviously an extended tour that Brad did.
Yeah.
Of the Tetley. We've got the brew day where the beer that Chris and I talk about in Keep Cask Alive was brewed, and I interviewed the brewer during that. We have the extended interview with Chris, and then we have a whole new interview that nobody's ever seen before that I did with Steve at the Cardigan Arms, which is one of their pubs down the road, that explains the whole history of him importing American beers way back in 2007, I think.
Yeah.
The fact that he was one of the first distributors for breweries like Brewdog, the origins of Kirkstall as a brewery, the origins of their revival series, which is why we got involved with them for Keep Cask Alive in the first place. Just so much to talk about. I'm very excited for everybody to see it.
Yeah.
And that'll be live in a couple of weeks alongside a few of our under the radars that are still to come as well.
Nice.
So, yes, no video next week and no podcast next week because I will be in South Africa. But after that, the videos will be coming back. And we're going to take a couple of weeks off from the pod to get a real break and recharge our batteries. And maybe cycle to Little Earth, and then we'll be back with the podcast again after that. So stay tuned. If you want to stay in touch with us, I'm sure I'll still be on the Discord because I love it in there. So join our Patreon, chat to us there. Otherwise, until the week after next, love and beer.
Love beer.
And Fjords.
Fjords.
The Bubble and Friday 5pm podcasts are brought to you by the nerds behind YouTube's craft beer channel. You can watch over 400 mini documentaries at youtube.com/the craft beer channel. And if you love what we do, support us via Patreon and get access to merchandise and our amazing Discord forum, a positive and welcoming space for everyone who loves beer, food and homebrewing. Love and beer.